here. I'm eyeing a few of them. I worked on the accent as well. Can't you tell? Now that you've been entertained by my hat, I'd like to introduce our next speaker. Oh yes, this hat was created by myself. I want to add that. And it's gonna mess up my hairstyle. But I'll never mind that. Our next speaker, she goes by the name Alison Francis. She's a trade and development specialist, and she is a daughter of the soil. She just has a little accent that doesn't sound like ours, but it's okay. She gonna mix it up for y'all. Alison has been addressing services sector development. This includes the cultural and creative economies, education, spa and wellness, professional services, and financial services. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome our next keynote speaker. She will tell you a lot more about herself. Alison Francis, everybody.
Well, I'm so happy to be here. It's unfortunate that it's right after lunch. But I hope I have the energy to keep you up and that you will give me the energy. Because for you also present, you know that we need to get the energy from the crowd. The thing with the light there, I can't see everybody, so those who yawning and so I won't see you all, to call out on you and to ask questions or anything like that. But I expect that we'll have a good set of discussion. I want it to be hopefully after we have some good discussion to understand, as we talk about here, the building blocks for a thriving creative economy. Now, in the creative sector, you mustn't stay one place. For those who in music, you must use your stage. No, you got to use the stage, so I will try to use the stage, but then they put the monitor like this. So excuse me if I don't use the stage and represent properly, but I have to stay here because the monitor is here, right? But we're going to see, I think this morning we had any protocols. My apologies, protocol being observed. A pleasant good afternoon, and all protocols being observed. All right, good, so I could go on. I think I want to commend the government of Grenada for this initiative. I've heard discussions from other senior persons saying that the creative makes no sense. You're wasting time with the creative, but you can't say that. And I think, using some of the things what Keith said, when you talk about the creative, is because they're looking at culture, not just culture, and the creative industry and what it entails. And if we're going to talk about building blocks and for a thriving creative economy, culture and the creative sector, we have to be more open-minded. And as we think about these building blocks and what is going to be endgame for us, I'm so happy to be home because I could talk fast and nobody going to tell me slow down and stop. Because when I'm going to present other places, hold up, oh God, we don't understand, hold on. I home, so all it gone through, right? And not slowing down at all. You get to the program. All right, I'm really happy about this. So we're going to look at the building blocks. I think a lot was discussed. I mean, the speeches, the presentations early on this morning and into the early afternoon really started to cone in on what we need to do. And so I'm just going to try to build on it. As I indicated to when they called me to speak on this, I tell them this is about a week discussion. So I'm going to talk really fast, and I'm going to try to pack as much as I can in, what they tell me, I think half an hour. You hear that? Okay. But we're going to talk. So what we need to do, there's a lot of things, as I said, I could only touch some of it. So we have the outline. I put black so you all can start to sleep, and then I can give you all some problems. But we're going to look at, a brief background. I'm not going to go into much details because I think most of the speakers before me went into the background of the issues and, how important the creative sector is. I don't think I need to underscore it anymore. Then we're going to look at some issues about how you address the sector, the fundamentals that you need to look into, such as your market intelligence and so forth, your financing, and that's supposed to then guide you hopefully by Friday, as we pull together what can be a development strategy for the creative sector for Grenada. And not just for Grenada, but the rest of the region. Because what we're going to do on Friday, we have to look at that regional agenda. Both the Prime Minister spoke of it, Keith spoke about it, and I heard just before lunch when Didicus brought it up. So it's something we have to think about. We may be small, but we're mighty, and there's a lot we can do. And I think we get power coming together, yeah? So without much further ado, some of these things were already discussed, yeah? It generates $2 trillion in revenue. But what I want to look at is in terms of the fact that the culture and the creative sector, really and truly, it drives the digital economy and it drives development. I believe it was in Keith's presentation where you speak about the contributions to the GDP. So it's not just about, and what I want to tell you all, it's not just about no longer, it's just about hobby. What is the creative sector? The creative sector is a business. It's a hobby. You got to love what you do. You know, some people working and they don't like what they're doing, so they go to work when they get up in the morning, oh God, I don't want to work today. But with the creative, and that's why I love the creative sector. You know, you're always excited. You always have the energy. So give me that energy. I don't sit on quietly, right? So give me that energy. It grows. It drives development. It drives the digital economy. It gives us the energy. We survive because of that creative sector. But then we tend to look at the creative sector in a silo. My apologies if I don't follow my slide, because I just go when I start. I like the energy. No, you see, the creative sector, it drives everything. It drives the digital, it drives development. We tend to want to look at the creative sector. We tend to want to look at so many other things in a silo. But we can't. You can't look at it in a silo. Because later on I start to talk about the value chain and where you fit in. And sometimes you in the business, you decide you want to do everything. You want to design the outfit, you want to sew the outfit, you want to sell the outfit, you want to do everything, and then you wonder why you're not growing. But you know what? You've got to let go sometimes. But we are very risk averse, but we don't understand. You want to hold on to that intellectual property, hold on to that design. But the creative sector drives everything. For the business out here, it's not just about investing in the creative sector, but how we use the creative sector in what we do. You design for your bottles. You understand? You design for the labeling. Then we talk about the digital. How you create your advertising and graphics, etc. That's part of the creative economy. And you all need to utilize what we have here in Grenada. Excellent. Look at the production here. It's great. How we utilize that creative sector. Right? So, if anybody want to bring me in on the slide, just don't hesitate to tell me you're going on for like too long, right? So, how this creative sector, how the culture and the creative sector, how it links to the growth and the digital economy. If it's one thing we learned with the COVID, it's the need for that digital sector. Yes, a lot suffered because in the creative sector, we're about socializing, coming together and partying and stuff, and we couldn't do that anymore. But what happened though, on the flip side with the digital, is that for those who registered and had their copyrights, and people still listen to a lot of music. People binge on Netflix, binge on movies. But where you were protected, you still got a little check coming in that could have helped you. So the flip side of this, and I know you'll be doing some with Dr. Koo later, is about your intellectual property and protecting your intellectual property so that you can get the revenue. And we have persons in the film sector, etc. It's not about the big production because that costs millions of dollars, but you could also have the production that can fit on your mobile, etc. So how you look at that? So when persons weren't able to go to theaters, but you're able to, yes, binge on their tablet, binge on their phones, etc., because you produced the suit. So later on, talk about not producing what you like, but looking at demand, and that's where economics comes in. You don't understand? I see a thing and I'm talking too fast. Slow me down. No. So the linkage with other sectors. Now the creative sector. Tourism, you're coming to Grenada. I'm a senior job. When you see me and I have my horn and think, pass along. You don't know nothing. I don't know anybody because there's certain beverages that we engage in that is made towards the further north of the island. I ain't talking about the one made in south, the one made further north of the island in the real old-time way that allows us to not understand everything. But, you come here and there's a close link to tourism. Right? So the creative sector is about tourism. What tourism is? Our food. Everything is involved. And later on, I want to let's talk about digital and tourism. What about the virtual realities? And that will help us in terms of that building block. Look at a certain building blocks that will have something that is agile, flexible, moving with the time. All right? It is linked, as I said, to our manufacturing, and that's why I want our private sector to understand where we are. Help with our advertising. I believe, Mr. Killer, when we are doing during the COVID, and you're saying, right, it's not just about the performances, but doing the different gigs, and advertising, etc. That really helps, so that you don't have to just sit down. Right? So how we visualize what we do. And if you really love what you do, it's not you don't sit there and think it's just about, look at the linkages with all the other sectors and how you can contribute. And my advice to the government as we go forward in framing what this new sector can look like, this new strategy can look like, is a connection with everything else. What's our development strategy? All right? So that we're thinking about culture as part of a major part of the development strategy, and it's a linkage to everything. I mean, I think later on in one of the slides I talk about our connection to the green. The fashion industry have a large footprint. We need to reduce that. So when you're thinking about development and you're thinking about the sector, how we can also reduce, how we can be green. People don't want to think about being green in the creative sector, but yes, you have to be green in the creative sector. How you can help that. So let's think about creative sector and green. And I'm saying that because we talk about financing. And where there's financing for, there's a financing for the green transition. So start to tweak your proposals to look at how you can make your creative sector more green and get the financing along those lines as well. So as I said, it's an inclusive sector. I just read it, you know. It's an inclusive sector. Attracts youth. hey, youth and women. You know, it boosts our attractiveness. Because, you know, people want to come here, they want to come for a job. I mean, I really miss a Juve. And you have to get tongue Juve, you have to get Sotters Juve, you have to reach across. Sometimes you might reach St. David's and stuff like that. But the thing is, you know, it's a very inclusive sector. It boosts our country's attractiveness. People want to come here. But as I said, when you look at our development plan, when we look at our tourism product, so many places have sand, sea, and sun. We have to make that difference. And how we make that difference and the importance of the creative sector. Unfortunately, you know, like sometimes we come and the food, we like the oil long, you know. And people not everybody could appreciate, but cooking that oil long on a wood fire by the beach just tastes so much different. Well, you know the vibes. You understand? They don't appreciate that, but people have to learn, and we have to have these little, you know, entertainment blocks. It doesn't have to be, when you start to fashion your product, it doesn't have to be all fancy and dandy, because people want to come to understand and appreciate your culture, how you enjoy what you do. And so sometimes I think we try to package it too nice. While there's an importance when you talk about internationalizing your creative sector to be able to be exported, that's something different I'll talk a little bit on. But sometimes, you know, people want to appreciate how you enjoy, if I'm talking to Lord Ollie, just turn that down, you know. How Ollie enjoy the culture, we enjoy our culture. We got to make that to boost our attractiveness. Link it, so as Keith said, it's not just about coming only for carnival. You have certain times, and I don't think I see Kristen here, but when you have the different theater productions and link that to what we do in the tourism sector, so that they know certain times of the year, you have these things going on. So it's a product, and that's why I said it has to be a cross-linkage with everything else. Our resilience amidst the crisis, and importantly, generates foreign exchange. Generating a foreign exchange, persons always believe, is when you leave. A point I want to make that hopefully I get more time to elaborate when I'm on a panel sometime tomorrow. A lot of people believe when you trade, you must leave your country. When you trade, you talk about trading in services. There are 4 modes, not to be too technical, but you talk about 4 modes of trade. There's online, where the services move. The producer of the service or the consumer of the service don't move. That's like music, film. You do everything, it goes online. Money comes from one account to the other. But you have traded because there's a foreign exchange. So don't believe that we're to export and increase the export, and that's why I want them to understand that when we talk about our building blocks. Don't believe that you must leave Grenada to export. You must leave Grenada to get a foreign exchange. All right? It can happen with the service moving, not the producer or the consumer. But I mentioned about the tourism sector, and we also have a big, St. George's University is huge. Yeah? Talk about people consuming, so persons who come to consume. So I've mentioned that already. So we look at it that way, persons who come to consume our services, really big. Very few persons go to establish, but you have that opportunity as well. And that's why we have to talk about another time, hopefully, about utilizing our OECS, our single market and economy. But persons don't migrate in the region very often. We like home bad in Grenada. I don't know, Grenadians like their home bad. They like ours. Watch, I know living here, but I like home bad. I'm so happy when they tell me come down here, like, woo! I mean, I left my 2 daughters and they really upset and stuff, but I was happy to be home. It's really good to be home. So, you know, people don't leave as often as we think. But I'll probably say that when we talk about a regional program. And Keith said it, you follow the money. And sometimes you have to follow the money if even it means for you moving. But that comes to the next mode, moving temporarily. It don't mean that you have to pick up and go and establish, pick up and live. But if you need to move temporarily to produce, temporarily to provide a service, think about it that way. All right? Lord have mercy, I'm still on the first slide. So let's go. Sector analysis. You keep your time in. All you up on everything good. Understand the sector. Now, one thing I know for sure, it can't be a one-size-fits-all, and I'm using the stage. It can't be a one-size-fits-all. Because what you do in the music sector can't fit for the film sector, can't fit for the animation sector, cannot fit for the publishing sector. All right? And what I want to advise on, while we'll have an overall development plan, you must go down to the granular and the nuances that address each sector. It cannot be a one-size-fits-all. And the very important people have reached you now. And then that would require you, of course, to do a proper diagnostic. Okay? How do you develop a thriving business? Because the creative, I said, is a business, it's not just a hobby. Just as you think about a business, think about it that way. Understand the ecosystem involved, the other persons that are working with you. Hey, I catch you. The other persons that work with you. What's the policy and regulations in place, etc. Do a diagnostic of the sector. And I was happy to hear when they look at the roadmap, and Orlando spoke of it. You map your sector. Know who are the actors in the sector. See where you have that need. You can't be just developing a policy to touch everything. Develop a policy that would address what is needed. Yeah? And you're developing a policy that addresses what is needed for the sector, or where the sector can then be able to export and increase its revenue. All right? And as I said before, the cross-linkages with the sector. And even within your own subsector, whether it is music or fashion, you singing, you may be writing as well. But you can't be doing the production, the negotiations. I mean, give a little lawyer, some money, you know what I mean? Get your lawyer, get your accountant. You understand? But you want to do your accounting, you want to do your legal, you want to do your marketing, your writing, your singing. No. Understand the value chain, break it down. Cross linkages within the sector. We had talked earlier, Keith spoke about investment. And someone spoke about, about failures and different things. Some investors say if you don't fail, they're not interested in you. Because most persons, you learn when you fail and you'll do better. And I want to invest with you because you have failed. So don't be afraid of failing. What you have to do is to learn from your mistakes and try to do better. All right? So develop your business plan. Develop a plan that is really agile and addresses what is needed. And that's what we have to think about in this whole building block. What it is that you need. What is that business that you're going to get involved in. All right? And as I said before, break down about the value chain. Understand your value chain. Understand your value chain here and the global value chain. Because sometimes you're big in Grenada, but how do you fit into the rest of the world? And that's why I come back later on to talk about not what you like, but what is needed. And that's why, like Bob Marley, one love, because a simple song. One heart. But when you're singing things that they don't understand, they don't know nothing about, they can't really sing with you. But sometimes the beat is good. I had to have an argument, I had to have it as an argument, when, some people are talking about us being bombarded by Afrobeats. And I said, no, it's about our culture and our creation. How can you talk about being bombarded by Afrobeats? So if you feel you are bombarded by Afrobeats, why you don't bombard them with your beat? You understand? It goes two ways. But you're only looking at what is happening and coming in. Why won't you think about going and give them your music? I'll come to that point again later on. But the point is that it is a beat, because some of them don't understand what Burna Boy is saying, but they like the beat. I sure you all don't understand. Some of them don't understand the language, but it's not true. Not true. They don't understand, but they like the beat. And come to my point, a beat. So you don't have to do the whole music. All I do is a beat. Oh, you see it? I get it wrong. A beat. All it is a beat. And you can make, so you understand in your sector. And my point I want to make as you talk about building and business is understanding your sector. And you don't have to do everything, all right? But understanding and collecting your data. We had worked with Dr. Nurse and some others some years ago. And everybody's like, for the music sector in particular, that they want to go, they want to go North America and Europe. That's where they want to go. And without recalling the exact figures. So example, like the US and the North American market would have been like 60,000 in revenue. The European market might have been about 40,000. But the African market, as example, 1.3. Because we don't think about it, but that's where it's consumed more. But we tend to think about those traditional markets. Yes, we have the diaspora there. But think about who likes what we do, who understands what we do. I did some work earlier on with some persons in the animation sector. And, they did some things about the jab. Now, I get excited about that. And I was laughing and cracking up about the whole animation and baby jab. But nobody else was laughing in the room. Yeah, because nobody understand that. But that is because they did not internationalize the jab animation for the buyers. We had Netflix there, we had Sesame Street, we had all these people there, but they couldn't understand it, so I thought it was a great animation. But that is drawing me to the point where we talk about the linkages. Now, if we had presented that to somebody in the African continent, or those persons with buyers there with that market in mind, it would have been better appreciated. But I'm saying the point also is that understand the data, understand your market. So as you talk about building blocks, understand your market. And on that same point, I'd use the example of music again. You believe you want to go to New York. It's not all about New York, It's what borough. And that's why you have to even go down to the granular. If you're going to the Bronx, if you're going to, Brooklyn, is where you're going to be performing. It's not all of New York that wants to speak, wants to hear you, knows about you, will give you a sellout. If you have a who's selling your music, who's promoting the promoters, who's promoting the show, they want to know that when they promote that you come in, it will be sold out. So talking with Dr. Niles, another colleague of mine in Trinidad, I'll be working on looking at the music sector. It's the same thing as for his group. They don't talk about going into just one area to see who use your data, who consumes your music the most, and that's where you go. You don't go to a borough, and a promoter won't want you there if they won't sell out. So data is really important. This morning at breakfast, we were talking about artificial intelligence, which helps you to collect data. But then there's the flip side of it, where people are now using artificial intelligence to, for lack of a better term, as a lawyer, I'll say lack of a better term, I'm not saying that they are doing it to steal the work. And they tell you, I did not do it. The computer did it. It wasn't me. So you have to be careful what you put into the system. But we need the data, So do your market research. What is demanded? Not just about a like. It's what is necessary. What is demanded out there. And so as we build this strategy, we have to make sure we are very focused on the market. What is it like by persons coming into Grenada? What is it like if we go out of Grenada? What is it like by persons who consume digitally, who's online? I have to make this point all the time. And we talk about if you're going to be producing for the young people, the older, in what age group are you producing for? Who looks at your film? Who's utilizing your fashion and your design? The point about the market research and design, sometimes I had to tell them about digitization of our design. Like somebody was telling us, what you have in St. Lucia, you have the Madras and you have the different prints. What's our print here? And they said in Jamaica, it's not a print, it's an attitude. The Jamaicans is how they wear their clothes. It's not a print. But I tell them, why don't we start, example, like I know we have the nutmeg, etc. We have the nutmeg on our design. So how you digitize that? Because in the fashion, instead of you painting every dress and you can only make 5 dresses, have you ever looked at it in terms of, okay, that painting that I've done that is so great, if I could digitize that, so instead of 5 dresses, that it can be now made into 10, 100 bowls of material, right? And you protect your intellectual property so that 10 bowls, you can make throw cushions with that, you can be making drapes with that. Once again, understand your sector, understand the market, what they like about your design, and what are you producing. Say, I like to produce dresses and I'm only going to produce a dress. If there is somebody likes your print and they want to use it, as I said, for a throw cushion, they want to use it for your drape, something, think about it. So, and if somebody tells you, you believe that your design, sometimes, we had that discussion, I think it was when we was at the conference last July in St. Lucia by OECS, that you have the next best things to slice bread. That your design, if a manufacturer or a company asks you to tweak, and you're like, how they could tell me to tweak my design? This is my design. But no, you must be agile enough to be able to tweak. It's not just about that. It's what is demanded. So sometimes you utilize clothing, you don't use breathable material, and they want to know if you're following all the procedures, etc. So sometimes we have to be able to adjust. Okay. Understanding your market and adjusting your product to suit so that you can get the sales. Because when you go, it's about making revenue, it's about sales. Do your competitive analysis. Unfortunately, for a young man, they're like, yeah, I made this dress and it cost him about $4,000 for this gown that he made for Carnival. By the time we went through all the whole costing and everything, that same dress cost should have been charged at least $7,000. And he thought he made a profit. But in the business, do a competitive analysis, understand the opportunities out there, and don't underprice yourself. We in the creative sector tend to always underprice ourselves. Or we think we know our value. But sometimes it is much greater than we even think. Sometimes it could be less. But very often we have to understand about, and that's being very technical. When they produce something, whether it's a good or a service, understand your intellectual property, do your proper pricing. And then when you think about it and enter in a market, do a competitive analysis and make the adjustment. Don't just adjust. And so we have to, what I want us to be very structured in our approach. All right? Education. Education is key when we talk about this building block, building our capacity. I like the idea of our technical and vocational education training. We have CVQs in the region. We do it with a CARICOM, on different levels. Where are we with that? How are we pushing that here? Because not all about the university degrees, but certifications, specializations, etc. We need to look at it from that way and re-engineer our education to encourage creativity, re-engineer our education to encourage innovation and exchange, how people think about the sector, all right? So it's started letting young people know that this is not just about a hobby, this is a business, all right? And as I said before, how do you internationalize your culture without losing your cultural identity? How you internationalize your creation, all right? It's a business. And we spoke earlier on, I heard them speaking earlier on about the mentorship and coaching. I've done a lot of training before. You finish your training after a week and 2 weeks, and it falls down. But you need to stick with the persons, do the mentoring, do the coaching, walk them through. Let them finish their product, finish their design, and then you help with the showcase. And that's what I want to encourage the government to do. As you do the training, capacity building, do the mentorship, do the coaching, walk with the persons right through. All right? Have it at different tiers, because not everybody will be at the same level. But this will be critical. All right? Understand best practices. But I spoke earlier on in terms of the private sector already. It's not just about investment, but how we use the creative sector as well. I think the private sector needs to, not partnership with us. And yeah, we train, and we need to train more on the use and development of new technologies and new ideas. All right, we go into digital, the virtual reality, as I mentioned before. All right, let them know how to go to, what's that falls they have, go down in Marquis, go down there. What is the name again? No, not the Carnage, man. Hear the non-Grenadian tell me the Carnage. I tell you about the waterfalls going up by Marquis and Hope. You know it's Marquis and Hope? No, you see what I mean? Mount Carmel, right. Walk through and let people experience that. A virtual reality going into that falls. And so they want to come and actually experience it. Okay, so, train persons in virtual, all right, in use of new technology. Keith said it before, digitization and digitalization is really important. Yeah, it's hot inside here, and I like making me sweat too. Right? Or policy development. I think that is one of them. Only one more slide you all have with me, okay? Or policy development. As I said, it must be agile, it must be flexible. Dr. Nurse made that point. You can develop something for now. He spoke about what he did with his with TikTok and how things have changed. You develop something today, and by next few months it has changed, especially when it comes to the virtual reality issues and the artificial intelligence and what is happening with the digital economy and digitization, etc. So whatever we develop, it must be agile, it must be flexible. And most importantly, it must then guide the regulatory development. So often in many other states, you hear they put a regulation or they put some laws in place and then we have to follow. But policy must feed into it. And what you're doing here is really excellent, so I hope we get that feedback when we get to the workshop. Everybody here, all the creatives, you must guide what that should look like. And then the policy will come in place for us to stick to it. It must be informed by research, informed by data. It's not always about a feel. All right? We must have some data to support what we need. So collection of data is critical. I like the idea very much about the mapping, the idea about the platform to be created. And I think that creation of that platform, yes, a platform for exchange. You hear a lot of talk about building about community of practice and who's doing the same thing. You understand about opportunities. You understand about challenges, you exchange on challenges, you exchange on opportunities. Let's meet, let's have that space where we can meet for a short moment and exchange. And it's not about person stealing the idea. It's not about senior idea. You have to know how much to give. You understand? How much to give. But we need each other. We can't do this alone. We tend to want to do it alone too often. But we need each other. And so I like the idea of the whole platform and for us to exchange. And that exchange must not be just about Grenada, but exchange with the diaspora and exchange with other member states for the best practices so we know what to do. And even that platform is supposed to allow us to look at where there are opportunities for investment, opportunities for growth, etc. And as I said before, link the creative with other sectors, the green economy. So I mentioned that before, so I'm not going to go into that again. Because we tend to, very rare, when we talk about green, or you talk about your energy use and your water, electricity, and things like that. The creative sector, in many instances, have a large footprint that we need to reduce. So let's think of the creative also from the standpoint of being green, being more fit, more nimble, and impacting less on the environment. All right? So all the oil, when we finish job, and we take that and squeezy the oil on the ladder, and we take the squeezy and we jump in the car and we take the squeezy and we go down Grenada. So all that oil in the water, but what are we going to do then? How are we going to wash it out? I want some ideas, So you play that job, and you have to wash out all that oil. That's a negative impact, but I shouldn't mention that because I play, right? But come, help us. Let's talk about a better way so that we impact less on Grenada Beach. I do not wash out in Grenada Beach. Yeah? I object. So I do not come to leave oil on Grenada Beach after I finish my job. I ain't gonna tell you where I go and wash out though. But the idea is that how we can be more green. Let's think about the environment. But I tell you stop job, I don't tell nobody I'm gonna be playing it still. Come the 14th, I'll be there. So I'm not telling you we stop in job, but job is not green. Oh God, that thing will be rough here. But you have to replenish yourself. And when you replenish, I tried that one year. When I done, I couldn't wash out. I had a real burning up. Don't tell me nothing about no charcoal. Unless you get a special, I tell you into this business, Unless you get a special thing to grind this charcoal real fine, by the time you done play a juve, you real bruise up. You can't replenish that oil. No. Anyway, so let me stick to the program. Let's try and stay green. And as I said before, we're connecting to the overall development. Creative sector impacts on development, and we must make that connection. Yeah? So finally, I wouldn't say much on this because I know Keith spoke about it. The one point that I really want to make is about you reinvesting in yourself. Who knows what you produce? Who knows your product and service better than you? And to encourage you to reinvest. Reinvest in yourself. It's not as you make the big hit, you go and buy a new car, you buy a big TV, or all of that. Reinvest a percentage of what you earn back in your business that will help you to grow. That is very key. All right? But we heard from CAF this morning. We heard from, Keith spoke about it. There's financing out there, But the issue that we have is bankable projects. We come forward and we do not, so I think we have to look at the issue of our proposal writing or writing for a project that the bank, yes, would want to give you that financing for. So we have to look at the issue of writing bankable projects. How we develop and we create our projects would help us to get the financing because, believe it, there's a lot of financing out there. All right, so we have to work on that. And as I said, investment from other sectors, but importantly, the reinvestment. There's also opportunities of grants, partnerships. And that partnership is important because it's not all about you. You got to allow somebody to come into that business. All right? So partnerships become very important. Keith spoke about it already. We have the traditional, non-traditional, cloud financing, etc. And the value of your intellectual property. If there are anybody from the banking sector, I remember I hope I didn't talk about, first I was glad she didn't talk about the years of experience because I might know my age. And Keith go and tell people about how much years I working on this thing to try and make me look old here today. I understand you. But the value, I remember trying to get a loan. And they're talking about, they want to know about, they want the land. And I say, but I don't have this thing. So it's about my intellectual property. So I tell you, want me to value my brain? I say, I can't give you. So then I'd go and pull out all the contracts, all the different things I did, and then they give me. Well, I say, that's the idea. How do you value the intellectual property? And that's what we have to look at. And for the non-traditional, to look at the issue of the value of the intellectual property. It's not all about capital. and the different assets, but how do we value our intellectual property is very important. I think that is something that we also have to look at when we talk about the financing of the sector. And yes, we spoke of the issue of incentives, but not just incentives and to give away, as the Prime Minister stated earlier this morning. You must want to do it, and you must be in it to be able to give back. And so that being said, I'm continuing to use my stage. I thank you very much. I think we have mentioned quite a lot on the building blocks for a creative sector. I look forward to more questions from you. That would allow me to then speak more on what we need to do as a country, as a region, to help to build the creative sector. It's really important. All right? So thank you very much, and do have a pleasant good afternoon.
I think that round of applause meant that you were really dynamic, and I love the fact that she used the stage. But just to digress, wouldn't it be nice to have a waterfall on the carnage, though? Is that a Minister Andy question?
No. You have to go in the bush. You have to walk in the bush. You know that word, mama guy? She mama guy. Yeah, she mama guy.
No, that just means I was listening. We'd like to ask, if I may, I know there are some people who want to ask questions.
Oh, sorry.
Yes, Miss Allison, you can't go after you talk about waterfall. You put this image in people's head. You just want to leave. Questions for Miss Allison. She was so good.
All you ask a question, I just tell all you know. I warned all you. And as an educator as well, you have to ask a question. All right, let me use the stage again.
There is a question.
Raise your hand. Wait, what's it? Move left, move right. Raise your hand, come on.
I'm here. Medea.
Good.
Yeah, man, I'm here. Hi, everybody. Afternoon. One of the presenters, but I really have a question for you because
sure.
I'm also borderline in terms of getting a better understanding of collaboration, creatives. Mm-hmm. First of all, amazing, fantastic presentation. I actually understood everything. But my question to you is, sometimes we wait until other people do things for us. And the biggest question I have is, how can us, I'm from Jamaica, and I'm in the creative industry there, right? And I'm here and I'm networking with some amazing people so far. My sister from over there from New York. It's just great and a melting pot, and we're planning to hang out and all of that, right? But my question is, as a region, how can us, the people, figure out ways to cross-collaborate without necessarily waiting on government, without necessarily waiting on some magical resource out of the way, but how we do that effectively so that at the end of the day there's some framework and something that's crafted so we can all win in the end?
You just got to believe in yourself and do it. Tonya, your same friend from New York. Tonya, we had a fantastic Caribbean rhythm showcase last year in Jamaica, right? With about 18 different artists we had from Grenada all over.
We had 2 representatives from Grenada, right. And I saw them, Riggy.
Riggy there. And the idea is about you wanting it, right? And if you want it, you're going to find the financing for it. And so okay, we may not have the financing this year, but we're going to be pushing also. All right, Tonya? We're going to find the money.
So like Lotto say, you have to be in it too.
You have to be in it and take that risk, take that step forward. Believe in yourself. That's the first thing I'm saying. Believe in yourself. That this is what you want and you can make it. People like, I don't think I'm big enough. I don't think I'm good enough. And so, we stuck with artists. We went with artists that are new, were never out there, and they made a big difference. Tonya could tell you now they're big hits on the platform. But it's about believing in yourself and believing in what you do, what you have created, and go out there, and you'll find bankable projects. You'll find persons who want to invest in you. It comes back to the point I made. You want to partner. You want people to partner with you. You don't want to do it on your own. A lot of times they want to do it on their own. Believe in yourself, partner, and you can get it done.
Another question from our audience.
Hello, I'm Ariel. I'm involved in the creative industry as a somewhat influencer. I like to think of myself, but I also run an agro-tourism company that is a cultural product in its own respect. So to build on what you said, actually, the benefit of such a new endeavor is that we kind of get to help build the framework. We kind of get to just, like you said, believe in ourselves, make those networkings, make those connections, and forge a way for the younger people after us to be like, oh yeah, this is how they did it. This is the channels they used. But the question I have for you, you were talking about valuing our intellectual property. Is there a Caribbean, I don't know, somewhere we could go to find creative property that was already valued, or how do we start? Where do we begin to value it? Because if we were to value it, we know our value, but you were talking about don't be scared to charge your prices. People fight down creatives with their prices. It's very real. So how do we, or what kind of established body can we lean on to be like, okay, this is what they said, this is my value, and we have the things to back it up. So where do we find that?
We have our expert, actually there's a presentation this afternoon at 6 o'clock, right? That speaks specifically to that. I don't know if you want to...
Yeah, that's the UE lecture.
The UE lecture that speaks specifically to that. This afternoon to call in on where you can, how you get that information, how you actually value, whether you say your copyright, your designs, your patent, etc. So do you want to make a quick response, or you leave it for... So they'll be talking to that tomorrow as well. They don't want to give in. They don't want me to give away.
Jump the gun.
They don't want me to jump that gun.
There's one more question. Oh, lots of questions back there. I saw Dr. Jules. Please, we'll take your question and then we'll take the other two. Is that okay? Sure. Thank you so much.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Akeem, musical artist based in Grenada. Question. So we speak about collaboration. We speak about all the procedures necessary to get the package out and ready to roll. Now, what advice do you have for us as creatives as a means of creating and securing the bankroll to make these things possible?
Creating what? To make it possible?
To make all these processes possible. To get the money. How do you get the money to make it happen?
The bankable projects. No, we don't have anybody from the banking sector in here, but two things. You need to have your business plan. You need to have your financing. Very often the bank asks you about your financing. How many persons keep their information? And you have your bank account. One advisor, they always say, if you even say put in $20 every week and take back out the $40 the next week, show that there's movement. So have your business plan in place. Have a plan in place, all right? Show your accounting, you can keep your data, etc., so that when you put forward your proposal, it is something that they can see, they can read to, they can relate to. Obviously, and to the point about you may fail before, what have you done? What are the risk and risk mitigating actions that you will take? So you have to be very precise in terms of what that proposal or what that project can look like. But we go down to the specifics. If you tell me exactly, everything it will pertain to what it is that you want to apply for the loan for, all right? And then you'll go into these details. But some of the major things is make sure you have your documentation, make sure you have a proper plan in place, a marketing plan. And this is a projected, that's why data comes in. This is a projected revenue over how much period of time, so they know that you can pay back your returns. And they show that you have a level of responsibility in the financial sector because of how you have managed your account. Thank you.
But Akeem, don't put $20 and take out 40. Take out 5.
Take out 5.
Next question.
Good afternoon. It's not really a question. It's, first of all, my name is Harmony. I am also known as the Nutmeg Princess. I am a social media manager and also an influencer, full-time. And it's more so a petition to the powers that be to help us as creators, content creators, influencers, to create an infrastructure to where these platforms can be monetized by us in the Caribbean, because as it stands, we have to jump through a lot of loopholes to get monies that are due to us. We're putting out the content, we're doing the hard work, we have the numbers, we have the engagement, we're marketing, we're out there in full force. However, I can't even say regional counterparts, because the rest of the Caribbean struggles as well. Right now, YouTube is the only platform that monetizes us as creators, and most of us are based in Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, some of us as well. And that is where most of our brand deals come from. But the bulk and the majority of the salary or the monies that we can earn is from the monetization of these platforms. So we would need the powers that be to assist us in getting that monetization. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments and contribution to the discussion. Dr. Jules.
I'm going to pick up where Harmony left off, because the notion of the powers that be, and two things: empower ourselves and also connect our own dots. So here I have on my phone an OECS Visual Arts Creatives. This is a group, after meeting many young people across the OECS who are into art, photography and painting and so on. We figured, how can we help them? Because many people have come to me, usually artists, saying, when you're going to set up a cultural desk at the OECS or different desks, sports desks, I don't believe in these things because you hire people to do that and they become bureaucrats who are, instead of empowering the sector. So the point is, the artists, the creatives have to organize themselves, and that's a fundamental philosophy for us at the OECS Commission. We are not setting up departments to deal with culture and creative industry. This group is just a start. One of the things I want to do, and that's a concrete suggestion to the Unleashed people, is coming out of this conference, because we are going to, I already said that to Orlando, use Grenada as the lead country in the OECS for the creative sector. Yeah. Right? So, the point about that, and there are very practical reasons, because one of the failings of regional integration is that we always believe there must be unanimity and everybody must be on the same page at the same time. No, that's not real life. So it's a coalition of the willing and the able. Whoever is ready to move on something, we move on it, and as the results show, other countries will come on board. So no, I don't want to take too much time, so save the applause, right? I'm talking practical things that we can do. So the idea is, in every sector, whether we're talking youth or creatives or consumer rights, let us create a capacity for the sector to empower itself. So this group of creatives, what I've said to them, the artists, don't tell me what you want OECS to do for you. Tell me what you want to achieve for yourself and what it is, the conditions that you need to succeed as a creative. Now, based on that discussion, as the discussion proceeds, you can see them beginning to coalesce, because truthfully, initially, there was a lot of fighting, people arguing with each other and so on. But now they're coalescing. And more the discussion is, these are the things that we need. Now, we as the OECS can come to, I said once, the next stage is for us to form, you yourselves form, a formal association of OECS creatives. You use Zoom and so on, you can use our facilities to meet our Zoom accounts and so on, form this association, and begin to, once you are legally registered, because I don't want two people come in and say we are an association. Show evidence that you are an elected grouping, even if you have 5 cents in the bank, that there's financial propriety in the running of the thing. Once you do that, any suggestions you all have as to what needs to be done to boost the creative sector, we can convene a meeting of ministers of culture or ministers of finance or whoever to take these ideas, to receive them, and for us to now start to work on that. So you see the point about empowering yourselves. And already things are emerging. They're saying, the artists are saying to us that, listen, tax on materials for painting and art is exorbitant. Now, the governments are not going to listen even to us saying remove tax. But if we have a formal association, we can say to the governments, all registered members of the formal association should be entitled to tax. And beyond that, we introduce them to people who are into NFTs. If you see the piece of art that was sold for $32 million as an NFT branded work of art, was something that any child could do in kindergarten. But 32, now no disrespect to the artists, but I'm saying if that could make $32 million, and I'm sure, based on some of the artists I have in here, that we can have, within 2 or 3 months of setting up this formal association, we can create 4 or 5 millionaires of artists in the region. So there are ways in which we can do this thing, and let's get practical about it.
We will have a final question for this segment, our panel discussion.
Pleasant good afternoon all. Protocol already established. I am Alistair Amada, aka Lyrically Inclined, an actor, poet, writer, now in Tropiny, have my own company, Team Lyrical. And to build upon the foundation, forgive me, your name slipped me.
Oh, Alison.
To the two previous persons that, forgive me, not too good with names. Okay. As a creative right now, right? I'm overwhelmed, to be honest, because the struggle is about, but let me say this. The conversation right now for local, this process should not be rushed. One, this process should not be rushed. It should be so pure and authentic. Make it all local. Work with the experts. You have RKD, you have the experts in the house. They're here. Work with them. Make it so authentic. And mind you, Miss, I heard you mention about when you internationalize and don't lose. We have to be careful. Yes, we regionalized and work with Latin America, but we have to be careful with the higher powers. Right, the higher powers like countries of America, China. And what I'm saying, influence, we have to make it ours and not lose ours. So what we're bringing to the table, we can portray our culture in such a way freely that no one can come and say, okay, you could do this, but not that. Portray not only culture, but what we stand for as a society, tradition, morals, and values, because understanding the intricacies of theater and where theater came from, theater started on the basis of morals and ethics, encouraging and empowering people. So the goal was not to belong, but I'm just saying, as student of the art form, understanding the backbone where theater came from, the performing arts came from, is always to challenge and criticize society to be better. I thank you.
Yeah. I think that's the importance of everybody being here and to give your input when we get to the workshop, because it's about building what Grenada wants, what you as a creative want this document, this framework to look like. So,
awesome.
Well said. Yes.
I love it. Thank you. And just a little tip, and this is something I learned. When you go to lunch and when you go to tea, find somebody new to talk to. You know Kijana already. You know Harper already. Find somebody new to chat with. All right? We want to. All right. I will take 5 minutes from your time tomorrow. A boring 5 minutes.
I only want pleasant good evening, everybody. I have to speak, but I just wanted to say this quick as Akeem walked up here and mentioned finding the money. And I want to say this because I'm sure there is people from the bank and stuff like that, and it's very important. They're outside. I want them to hear this. We have a habit here where we don't believe in our own gems. So I know that I have to speak, but I wanted to say this because you made so much great points, but I sat there and I wasn't going to say anything, but my spirit would trouble me later. I went to the bank, I have an idea, went to the bank, and it took me almost like 4 months to actually get a loan. Somebody like me, that my money passed through the bank all the time. I have more money in the bank than the loan, right? And it took me so much time to actually get a loan here in Grenada to actually back an idea that I have, that I literally canceled the loan and did it from my pocket, cash. We need to learn to believe in our own, our people, and our creative industry. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Miss Allison. You are amazing, and the applause can tell you that. The questioning will also testify to that. Ladies and gentlemen, we want to move on. We're running a little late. We're trying to speed it up, but I don't want to speed it up too much because all of this is so good, right? But we're going to save some for tomorrow. All right? Our next panel discussion will